Hi, Jason Pilgrim here from the Profitable Practice podcast, where we help allied health professionals just like you empower and inspire the lives of so many more people by building bigger and better businesses. Let's go and get stuck in right now. Mate, Ken, thanks for joining us again, buddy.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for inviting me back.
I always love to tell people that obviously you're my videographer and shoot all my stuff, and I love it because you're an absolute artist with what you do. And anyone who wants to get more information, please hit me up. I would kindly be able to introduce you personally to Ken and get some fantastic work done. So, mate, we were chatting only yesterday, and you said, "Hey, we should do another podcast on this topic that we're going to do today, and we're going to run through the 5 reasons." Look, there might end up being more. We might come up with some others. I know there's 5 main reasons when you work with your clients as to why they're not doing video in the first place. True?
Yeah. There's quite a few, but I think most of them fall under 5 main categories.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So, dude, let's shoot straight from the hip. Let's dive straight in. What's number 1, mate? What's the first reason that most people aren't doing videos?
I think the number 1 reason is people say, "Why me?" Like, I'm not a celebrity. They compare themselves to people who have millions and millions of views, and they say, "I'm not that." And why would people listen to me? Now, the problem with that is they're comparing their day 1, or should we say day -1, with the other person's day 1,000 or 2,000. And it's just a matter of how long you've been doing it and the experience you're getting and the feedback you're getting from the public and improving on that. So one thing I love to do is look at these people who are mega stars on social media and go as far back as possible on the timeline. Sometimes it takes hours to get there, and I want to find the earliest video of them. And it is night and day. And when I look at that and say, "Hey, I could do better than that," then I realize, oh, yeah, that means that I should, and I just need to start now. And it just busts a lot of people's perception of that these people just dropped into stardom. They didn't. They built that up over years and years. So that's number 1. Like, why me, right? Number 2 is decision overwhelm. They might go to YouTube and see somebody with $20,000 of fancy gear, and they're like, "Holy shit, I can't start with that." And then they look at some cheap stuff and like what mic to use, what camera, what backdrop, what lens, what SD card, what editing software. The list is endless. So the decision overwhelm, it just stops a lot of people because they want it to look good. Now, the amazing thing is that it's a famous director.
You've got one of those too. Those things called.
Yeah.
I'm holding it up here in front of me, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
So the famous director actually took his iPhone, I believe it was a 7 Plus at the time, and he shot a short film with it. And then he shot the exact same scenes with something called a RED. A RED is an industry standard camera that Hollywood uses a lot. Okay. And they typically start at around $90,000 for just the camera itself. Add the lens and accessories, it's about $300,000 for a regular setup. So he actually used this $300,000 setup with a roughly $1,000 iPhone, and people could not tell the difference. And I'm not talking about just the average YouTube viewer. These are actual experts in the field. So there are situations where your iPhone will outperform these other cameras, not to mention how convenient it is. A very wise person once said, "The best camera in the world is the one you've got with you." So my advice to them is, look, use your iPhone. And when you get to the level where the problem is not, can you tell a good story and keep people's attention? When you master that with your iPhone, then think about investing in gear.
Yeah.
Okay. So use your iPhone to master the storytelling, because that's where the magic is. It really is. 90% of the magic is in how you present it. So that's number 2, right? Number 3 is
low and it's pointing up your nostril. You've lost them, right?
Unless you have a very special channel around a small niche.
a small niche around those that like to look down and talk like this. And if they sit in the one spot and talk like this, "Hi, my name's..." It's like people just disappear. It doesn't matter how good your message is. I mean, most of the time they're boring anyway, which is why they talk like that. But absolutely, it's about the message, and it's about the value, and it's about the story. It's not actually about the gizmos in the background. True.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. The story is what keeps people on.
I'm just off to the side here, not propped at all. Seriously, I've got some of my gear. You know, got a Joby here that's attaches on, little Rode microphone, and so you can do a lot of stuff with your lights and that type of stuff on something very simple like that. And to put all that together with the right microphones and that, again, using your phone, you've got a completely different context and a lot better understanding, being able to work that a lot more professionally. Something like that, you're going to pull all that together for probably $200 or $250. So you can take a really good iPhone setup. And let's not enter the discussion about iPhones or Samsungs, right? Because we just, we don't want to be
Let's just say if you have a phone that's less than 3 years old, you're good to go. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then we've got the gimbals, which I've got one here as well. And I shot one earlier today. And I've actually got two of these. I know you've got heaps of them because I was only over there recently with you in Tokyo. And that's the one I got from Japan there. Nice little case, etc. Because I've got having trouble with my other one, but anyway. So the whole thing is this: you can easily kit yourself out for $150 or $200 with a gimbal and a stabilizer, etc. And you've got the long extension parts of them and all. So yeah, you can do that very, very simply and easily with a very small amount of gear. You don't need the big,
absolutely.
You don't need a studio like you've got in Yokohama there with the big lights and all the barn doors and all that type of stuff. You just don't need it, right?
Not when you start. That's once you enter the next tier to where you've nailed your story, you can keep attention with just the dialogue. That's when you want to think about how can I make the picture even prettier. Absolutely.
And then from that level to your level is another level still, because seriously, you are an artist. Mate, seriously, I love working with you, with you and your team. It's just the way you guys do it, and the creativity is just, I love it, mate. Ambushing eyeballs, making eyes pop. It's fantastic, dude. So, mate, that's 2. We said 5. So let's go. What's number 3? What do you reckon it is?
Okay, so the next one is this. They post stuff online, right? And then they don't get the attention that they hope they would get. They're just like, so this is the process, right? They set up the camera. Yeah. They have 4 or 5 bullet points that they want to talk about. They think that this is going to be interesting. Hit record, talk for a few minutes, hit stop, load that data onto their laptop, cut the front, cut the back, think of a catchy title, upload. And then what happens next is they go like this. Their hands fold and they pray to God someone will click on the video.
Yeah.
And whenever I see that happen, I cringe because
please.
Yeah, what happens is you start getting desperate. Like you hit up all your friends, say, please share this. You hit up your parents, your mother, your father. You set up a couple fake accounts to share it also, maybe. Yeah. And then what happens is it's a hit or miss. 50-50 people will view and share, and a lot of times people won't. And that's the problem. People think first, like, what's in my head that I believe the world is going to be interested in? Let's talk about that and let's see if they'll bite. And that doesn't really work very well. Some people luck out, but it's a lot of times it's just to do with luck. So I like to flip that around. I'm like, I thought about the reason you click on any link is the title's got to grab you, right? So Absolutely. We work out what is your expertise and what is currently trending, and we write titles that will attract people who are in that Venn, in the overlap. So the titles come first. If the title can't grab their attention, the video is worthless. You got to have a great title, and then you say, hey, can I talk around this title and then steer that toward my industry, even if it's not the exact same thing. Or maybe you're in your industry, you're just focusing on the wrong part that the market's not interested in. So this will help you get laser focused on what in your industry, what in your capability does the market want. So get that first, write the titles first, then make the content. And that's how you get over that.
And I've got to say, there's 2 parts that really resonate with me. One is I know that this is exactly how you do it, because I've done it with you multiple times. And we actually sit down and we sort of brainstorm this out with the team, don't we? We kick off the shoes, we're sitting around, chilling out, just jamming, having fun. And we're just thinking about all of the deep knowledge hive type, topics, or what the frustrations are, the hot buttons, etc. And then we actually formulate the videos, first of all, based on the heading. And some of the time we deliberately do that because you always talk about ambushing eyeballs, right? And that's what I love about it. Yeah,
So
and this whole thing of people scrolling with their thumb on the, people that are listening on the podcast right now are sitting there with their thumb sort of scrolling up through, like Facebook, for instance, up and up and up. You've got to get something and bang, because video is so prolific. Images are so prolific. You've got to ambush the eyeballs and have something that just goes whack. Whoa, stop, and grab them straight away. True.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as long as you grab their attention with the title, then the next step is you got to lead with something powerful to get them to keep watching. But that's a whole nother art in itself.
Absolutely.
I think one of the other reasons,
a podcast topic in this coming up for us sometime soon. You might do one in and around the marketing headings and just sort of flesh that, sort of stepped out that one little niche little area out, because it only takes 10, 20, 30 minutes to learn, but it takes a lot of time to master that as well, because understanding how and why and the drip feed, but not closing the loop off and that type of stuff is actually really, really important. And most people don't even think of that, let alone know it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's park that one, because that's really powerful. So that's number 3. Number 4.
Number 4 is they made some videos in the past and they look at it and they're just like, whoa, I look way different than I thought I would, right? So here's what people do. A lot of times they go to a fancy hotel, right? And they look at the view and it's like, this is a wonderful cityscape. They set up the camera and they start shooting. And when they look at the video, one of two things happen. Either the view is beautiful and you're a black silhouette, or you look okay and everything in the background is washed out and white. So, there's just 4 main things that you got to learn about how to make the videos look decent.
It's like these. I'm just going to turn my blinds off at the back here and do that, right?
Yeah, well, your camera is pretty intelligent at finding your face, so you're all right. But it's just a simple principle. One around light, how to work with natural light. One around sound, how to get the most out of your smartphone or whatever device you're using. And there's one around angles, and there's the 4th one around movement. And I just teach 4 main principles about how to shoot videos of yourself and just make it look 80, 90% better, just by learning these few principles. And if you just think of those 4 things, light, sound, angles, and movement, then your videos will just look a lot better. Now, the last one, and this applies mostly to business owners, is they get into making videos about content because they did a bit of research and everybody's saying, look, social media is where the future of business is. That's where your leads and your business are coming from. And the most engaging type of content is video. So they're like, all right, let's make some video. And they spend a bit of money in equipment. They spend time in planning, shooting these videos, and they start putting them up. But they can't figure out how to connect the activity of making videos and posting them to their business, right? They don't know, should I push for sale? Should I not push for sale? And they don't have a system in place to connect the two. And I think in the end, that's the nail in the coffin that stops their video making project for a lot of people. They're just like, it didn't pay off, so I'm going to focus on the things that do pay right now, and they get off to that. So it's just a matter of having a few simple systems in place so that after you shoot the videos, how do you put that into a marketing machine that's going to continuously draw leads in and convert them into customers.
But there's a really good lesson there, because it's not that that strategy doesn't work. It's just that they weren't implementing the strategy correctly.
And or they just didn't know it. They just didn't know the strategy. You can't make free content forever and expect that to turn magically into business. You have to be strategic about it and know when to convert the views into business, into money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I really love, like Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about his jab, 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 hook type thing. And it's in most situations, it works very well as an overarching concept, isn't it? Provide value, give and give and gives that jab, jab, jab. And when you're ready to sell, make it obvious. It's like, okay, there's another jab. And then all of a sudden, you see your shoulder turn and the arm comes from a different angle, round it swings. It's like, here it comes. The sell's coming. Here comes the hook. I always sort of think about it that way. Thanks to Gary Vee for teaching us all jab, jab, hook and the benefits of boxing to people's brains, right? That's why I like to think about it as well. I think so many people, and I think you're exactly right on that. So many people go for the sell straight up, or they hear that you've got to give value and you've got to earn the right to sell. So they give a snippet of value and then turn around and straight away want to sell. But so much of it, as you're saying, is more about warming them up, keeping them warm, taking a cold lead, making them warm, making a warm lead hot. to the point where they just can't resist anymore. You're hitting all their hot buttons. You've got everything in place. You've created an authority placement for yourself. They feel that they know you intimately, not just as a professional, but personally. Do you mind if we talk about that for a sec? Just that personal and professional approach, because I think that's something, particularly in my industry, with the health industry, I think there's a lot of people that I'll be honest with you, just miss the point. They say, "Oh, I don't want to be. I can't. You know, my it's like a professional thing," and I don't tell them to go out and date every patient and make it unethical. But having clients or people in the area that you work, you know, it might be the local area that you are, know who you are as a person. I believe, and I know that my colleagues that are killing it as well in with video and that type of stuff as well, understand the power of being an authority figure. And you can't be an authority figure by putting a stethoscope or around your neck, pretending that you're someone you're not, and just jamming information about, you know, high-end anatomy, physiology, diagnostics, etc. People don't resonate with that. They resonate with you just being normal and human. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And one of the biggest questions I get from clients early on is, hey, I want to work with you, but should I focus on branding my current business or product or service, or myself as a person? And my answer is always the same. I say, if it's one or the other, then yourself, because you are the only constant in everything. I love the example of Richard Branson, of Elon Musk. These are people who have been through hundreds of businesses, and the only constant is themselves. Now, if they only branded, like if we never heard of Richard Branson and he made the successful record company, Virgin, Records, then Virgin Records, that's practically unheard of now. I don't even know if that company's around. So
there's 286 or something Virgin companies now.
Exactly. That was his first big success, right? So if all of his effort went into branding the company went obsolete at some time. I don't know actually where it is. Maybe they're doing great. I just haven't heard of them.
Well, he always talks about the biggest mistake he made regarding the Virgin brand was actually going into condoms, because he had Virgin condoms, and he always said that just was a big flop. And then, he turns around and he says, excuse the pun on that too.
Yeah. So there's a problem there, right? If he got stuck with the first company.
Off the ground. Yeah, sorry, let's not go there.
So then what he did is he realized that if he does these kind of publicity stunts, if he gets on camera as much as possible, if he gets people's attention and does things that people will pay attention to, then people become endeared to him as a person, and the activities or businesses he goes into, that's called portable equity. You take that trust built into yourself and you could inject that into your next project. Elon Musk has done the same thing. He's done PayPal, and at that point he didn't really understand branding himself that much. But after he exited PayPal, he had a lot of people who says, hey, this guy's a smart guy, he's got great ideas, and whatever he's doing next, we want to invest with him, right? He got the US government to invest with him, for crying out loud. He's got, power stations, he's got cars. I'm not sure what other crazy ideas he has going on. He's got SpaceX, the Boring Company, right? Amazing stuff. But
they're trying to do tunnels to take cars and buses underneath LA and New York and bring them up at other parts of the city and all sorts of stuff. They're hyper tube, train tunnel. Basically,
they put the car onto rails and it's going to go at a couple 100 miles an hour. But since it's all computer controlled, it's very safe. So the one constant is Elon Musk. Like, a lot of people, investors, are like, whatever he's doing next, we're going to invest in him. So brand yourself, if your employer is not into that, he's going to say, if you have a job and your employer's like, no, you can't do that, then I think it's time to start thinking about a career change, because career changes happen more and more and more as time passes. It used to be that you find a career that maybe your dad did, your grandfather did, and everybody follows that. It's a different world.
You go to the factory, you work from 9 to you finish at 5, you punch your card on the way out the door, go and have a meat and 3 veg for dinner, watch some telly on the lounge, go to sleep, wake up, do it again. But life isn't like that right now.
The world has changed. And the best thing you could invest in is yourself becoming visible. There may be large corporations who, when they understand that when they hire you, they're also buying your following, the trust that you bring with you. That's portable equity. Wherever you go, your personal value has gone a lot more. So that's my advice.
I'm going to tell you now, like with a physio, let's say a physio, right? A physio or an EP or something, or a podiatrist, etc. They'll go and work for a company and they'll have a clause in the contract that they can't work within X amount of kilometers, you know, within 10 kilometers for 12 months and blah, blah, blah. And let's not get into the legalities of whether that's equitable, whether it stands up in court, etc. The fact of the matter is, if they go 11 kilometers down the road or 1 kilometer down the road, if they don't tell anyone or put any of that in place, I guarantee there are a certain percentage of clients that when they find out that they have left or are leaving, are going to find out where they are. And these days, it's not hard. There's so many different avenues of technology to be able to find out where someone is really quickly. So as a net result, they're always going to have a following because of their professional side, which only just goes to support the fact, well, if people are already doing it anyway, it is actually about you, isn't it? It is about your own brand and your own reputation and what you can actually do for them and help them out. And if they've got that affiliation with yourself personally, why wouldn't you heighten that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's 100% true, especially in a client-based business like allied health professionals. It's so important to establish yourself as the authority. And if you're working in a larger hospital or your own practice, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is you've got to establish yourself as the authority, the authority that other allied health professionals turn to for advice, for information, for growth. Then you're going to start getting referrals from your competition at points. Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing. I think this actually opens up another little part there. I think there's a lot of people in our industry that don't feel that they've got the knowledge to be the industry leader on shoulders or knees or diabetes or foot care or whatever it happens to be.
Yep.
The fact with that is you don't have to be, right? Like you're not, your actual target of what you're trying to bring in isn't the world's best, lumbar spine technician, etc. That's not it, right? What you're actually
it's your flavor of it. It's like think about this: how many math teachers are there in the world, or even Australia? There's going to be
thousands of math teachers. Yeah.
Now, does the teacher get up there and say, "Well, there's this other teacher in MIT who's better than me, so I'm not good enough to teach"? It's like, no, you are the authority in your class, in your group, in your geographic zone. So claim your genius, become the authority, and be willing to give what you have. Like the people you're reaching out to are not the people who know more than you, because they don't need you. The people who know less than you, they need your help. And because you happen to be in the vicinity, either digitally, either geographically, or either in your practice or business, the fact that you know more than them, it causes an imbalance. And the only way to fix that is to share that knowledge to the people who know less and lift them up to a place where they're empowered by you. And that is the principle I live by. You have to do that. It's your duty. And if you don't do that, you're disservice to society. You're not doing your job.
Dude, I absolutely love it. And I think the big part, I think if it was like a sixth thing, the sixth tip I would say for health professionals is we have this inbuilt mentality that everything we say and do has to be the best. Like it's always, because that's what we did at uni, right? We're at university, we were always taught you had to go do this. You couldn't just get P's. That was about who could get the distinction or the highest distinction, who could quote the next bit of jargon, the best bit of the textbook, reference things in the right way. We used to have to put our reference list at the back of things and put all the, I can't even think of the correct terminology now, right? It was that long ago, on my age, in the right format for what you consulted on. And you sit there and you go, that's absolute crap, right? Because it creates this avenue for us where everything has to be perfect, and it creates it's almost like an analysis paralysis. You go, it's got to be so perfect. People are going to judge me. My peers are going to think this and this. But then if you talk at that high level, they don't get cut through to their clients because the clients have no understanding. There's too much jargon. There's too much technology. And so I think that's one of the biggest things for our industry as well. There's this you're torn as a health professional between being something that's going to be peer reviewed and accepted as, oh, this guy's, wow, that's, it's great language. He understands it. That's high end technical knowledge. And the layman who honestly doesn't give a shit about that, excuse my language, they just don't care, right? They just want to know, here's my problem. Here's my frustration. Tell me what you can do to solve my problem. How quickly can you give me pain relief? How can you help me fix up my osteoporosis so I don't fall over and fracture my hip again? That's what they want. And I think there's a really big disjoint there between health professionals not engaging in like video or personal branding of authority, because they feel if I talk to the client at that level, it's going to make me look like I don't know what I'm talking about to my peers and colleagues. And
That's so interesting. And I was just on a podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
I was just on a podcast the other day with someone in Sydney also, and she's got an accounting practice. And I asked her, what's the biggest problem? And she says, what it is that accountants think that the bigger words they use, the smarter they're going to sound. But to any business owner, that is not what they care about. They just want to know what it means in plain English. And that's the service she provides. And we just did a kind of a impromptu consulting session on the podcast. And then we said, look, why don't we call you an accountant, you know?
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, what I do is I decode accountanese. And that's what it's all about. And that's what people want, you know? And the same applies for what you're doing, you know? Like it's not about trying to sound intelligent. It's what it is. It's trying to help the person understand at the simplest terms possible.
Absolutely.
And they're the people that'll come back to you over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I think that's fantastic. And that was just an extra one I wanted to throw in there because I think it's something, you know, we all feel that we might freeze on camera or that we're going to be invisible and no one sees us. But like you said, you know, like everyone starts somewhere, right? And some of the time there's a complete way of getting things going viral. I know with some of your clients overseas, you know, like there's millions and millions of hits and viral stuff that you guys do. And there's the secret sauce. We might talk to you about that later, certainly not today. But yeah, it's just, you've got to start, right? You've got to have the personal branding. You've got to start. You've just got to do it. Use your phone, get it done.
But let me say one last thing though. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid that they're falling behind, that, you know, they see maybe a colleague or somebody else in the same field that started 5 years ago, and they're at a place where you feel like, oh, it's too late, I can't start. There's an old Chinese proverb. They say the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, because it could be, the next best time is today.
Yeah.
So that's the same with video. Like if you haven't started yet, don't whine that it's too late. Get started. Maybe the other person got the lead on you, but it doesn't mean you're going to sit in a puddle and say, well, I will never start. It's just time to get off your butt and get going. And maybe you're going to have a twist that people would be more interested in, and you might shoot right past them. It happens all the time.
Absolutely. So, mate, dude, I think that's a perfect way to finish up this our time together today, mate. I really appreciate all your time. Some really, really valuable lessons there for everyone listening to this. Ken, as always, you're an absolute magician. You're a super smart dude. I love hanging and jamming with you and the team, and I can't wait to do so again very soon, mate. Thank you very much for your knowledge, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jason. See you later.
Cheers, matey. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.